Hello and welcome. I'm very delighted to be joined by Becca Barfus from Netgain. So thank you for joining us on this learning session that we have today for the accounting and bookkeeping community. And I'd love you to start by sharing who you are and why you're here today, and then give us a little bit of understanding of what Netgain is.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Becca Barfus. I'm actually a CPA. So I'm based in the United States, but I am hoping to make it to Australia here pretty soon. So I guess my company I'm at is Netgain. And so what we do is we build fully embedded apps. Inside of NetSuite is what I'm focusing on today, but we do have other ERP systems that we are expanding into as well. So I believe we'll be doing another call where we'll be able to talk about some of those. So kind of two options there. But yeah, today we're going to be focusing on the NetSuite side. Netgain in general just really focuses on modernizing accounting. So anything that is back office, very repetitive, we're trying to automate those as much as we possibly can. So that way it takes as little time as possible. Really just freeing up accountants' time, right? So a lot of the times we're doing stuff in Excel over and over and over again, and it's just a copy and paste exercise. And so anytime we're doing that, we're looking for a way to automate that. And then we're doing that inside of NetSuite because we really believe in that concept of doing the accounting in your ERP. So that way you minimize any of the reconciliation side of stuff.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Is there anything else that accountants and bookkeepers should know about Netgain?
Yeah, I guess the other thing, so I'm going to be covering a couple different kind of products today. And that's going to include some of our newer products as well. So we've got our kind of core group of products that are really accounting focused. And then we have also some more UI focused products, just about that usability side of NetSuite. And so I might just touch on those if we have time as well, because I think that that is also a really cool kind of branch of our products.
Oh, absolutely. Now, you did mention ERP, but to be upfront with people, what solutions does Netgain integrate with?
Yeah, so currently we integrate with NetSuite. And then we also have a product specific to leases currently that integrates with QuickBooks. So kind of those two spaces. And then we're looking to expand more in the QuickBooks side as well, which I know a lot of your listeners are probably in that.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Do you have a presentation that you'd like, or would you like to jump into a demo to show us what the solution does?
Yeah, so I was going to share just a couple screens here. So I'm going to share my screen then. So yeah, just kind of, again, Netgain, that's our company, there's our logo. But flipping through these slides really quickly, we've got kind of, again, we're redefining that future of accounting, right? This is what I just talked about. We've got quite a few badges here going on. We try to be people's favorite as well as the easiest to use when it comes to our products. And then when it comes to our actual products, right, this is what I'm talking about. So these are our back end really embedded inside of NetSuite. And I'll show you exactly what that looks like once we dive into the software itself. But we've got a lease product. We have an asset product. This is going to be doing your fixed asset accounting. We have a loan product. This one's really cool. I'll show this one briefly today as well. Our NetLoan product can be the borrower and the lender side. So we've actually seen a lot of clients where their business is financing. And so they've been able to take that and put it inside of NetSuite using our NetLoan product.
Wow,
I also have a
powerful.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yes.
That's powerful.
There's nothing really like it on the market. That's the other really cool thing about the NetLoan product. And then, yeah, our NetClose product. So this is going to actually help you close the books. So we're really trying to focus on, again, that automation side, but also the tracking side. So having a task list that's easy to use and navigate inside of NetSuite, being able to do your reconciliations and have numbers automatically compared to each other. Again, inside of NetSuite where all of your numbers actually live. So that one I'll show a couple different screens from today as well, because it's a very powerful product that we're continuing to build out as well.
I like the fact that you've simplified it with an abacus there in the icon. The NetClose.
And then SuperSync is actually a company we recently acquired. And so this is when I was talking about the UI side of things and kind of the usability. These products are focused on that. So we've got a really cool product around syncing your NetSuite files to like a SharePoint or a Google Drive, right? Being able to save some of that space inside of NetSuite. We also have the ability to connect this to Outlook. So we are able to do your mail, kind of your different calendar events, and just being able to have things go back and forth between NetSuite and your Outlook account itself. It's really helpful for like sales teams, right? That's kind of like the main use case, but e-commerce companies, there's lots of different groups of people that use these different products.
Okay, so is it pulling in recognizing sales on Amazon or Shopify? Is that what it's doing there?
So there's a product that's a part of the suite that does that.
Okay.
So it's able to set up an integration between like a Shopify and your NetSuite account and be able to feed information back and forth that way. So that's kind of the overarching SuperSync is the name, but then there's a couple sub products and that would be one of them. It's our integration piece. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so one of the things we like to highlight, I've used the word native a lot. That's this box here on the end. Essentially this idea that all of our products live inside of NetSuite. So we're saving things in your NetSuite account. We're using custom records and custom transactions. That gives you a lot of really native functionality and flexibility. So when I show you a dashboard, right, it's a dashboard on our NetClose product, but it's also going to be just a native NetSuite dashboard that you can customize any way you want, different things like that. So I'll show some of the highlights there as well, but I just really wanted to drill that in, that these really are just native products. There's no integration. Couple just customer experiences, just basically being able to save time, being able to save money, everything what everybody wants, right? But yeah, I want to just kind of highlight some of those. We've gotten a lot of really good feedback on really all of our products. They're all kind of growing independently really well. So it's been a cool experience, as well as it's really amazing to see clients come to us and say like, hey, I really like your NetClose product. Do you have anything for assets or for leases or such and such? So
that's great. That shows a really good user experience, doesn't it?
Yeah, it always makes you feel good. Okay, well, I don't want to spend too much time on slides, so I think we will hop into the product. Unless, was there anything else, Heather, that you thought your users would know? That's
great. That's great. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to switch then to my NetSuite account. And I started here on this task Kanban board, but I actually want to start on the dashboard just because I was mentioning that earlier. So you can see here our products, they do live inside of NetSuite. I've said that a million times now, but I'll say it again. They show here as SuiteApps. They just populate here on your top bar. If you're not familiar with NetSuite itself, it's obviously an ERP system, but this is going to be your main navigation tool here is this top bar, and then you'll be able to drill down into all the individual pieces within the apps themselves. So these are all individual products that we sell. So the leasing I talked about, that assets, some of the cool things, right, are that we do have that native functionality like this dashboard. We've got different reminders we can set up, different graphs that we can set up. So it gets really flexible and you can make this completely customized to your own use case.
Looks really cool.
Yeah, it is. It's really cool. So I think I'm going to start by just jumping into the NetAsset product. This is actually one of our most popular products because it takes what native NetSuite does, and then it has that functionality plus so much more. It becomes a very robust product. So anybody who has fixed asset needs, really, if they have additional costs coming in, if you're grouping costs together, if you really need a solid tracking ability and that ability to like audit trail and drill down into journal entries and see exactly where those numbers are coming from, those are all things that our product does really well. Again, I'm a CPA and most of our company are CPAs. So everything I'm going to show you is very accounting focused because that's what we focus on. So with creating an asset, I'll just show you a quick screen here. Basically, we have an asset record, but just again, one of those cool things, any of the lists that you have inside of NetSuite are going to also be lists here that we can access. So there's no need to set things up twice, right? I only set my subsidiaries once in NetSuite, and then I can just access that directly from my record here. You've got that start, end date, we've got a dollar value. I'm actually going to flip over to an asset I've already created. So that way you can see what this looks like once it's filled out. Again, the idea here is that we're putting you, the client, are putting in the relevant information, start and end date, dollar amount, and then we generate the depreciation schedule for you, right? Anything that is more of that back office side. So we post the journal entries for you. We're going to be able to do what we call a build-up functionality. You can see my dollar value of that asset increasing right here. So basically it just gives you that ability to say like, hey, a year down the road, I have an additional $1,000 that actually needs to be added to this asset. I mean, you can just slide that right in. It's going to just update your depreciation, attach it to the asset value. It makes it super easy. So I know it's like kind of a nuanced example, but just wanted to give an example of kind of how the user UI looks and then also some of that functionality.
And so I presume for Australian users where it says federal tax and local tax, you can adapt that.
Right, yeah. So we have the ability to put different tax schedules in here. You can have up to 10 different what we call alternate schedules. And this is specific to assets. So this is also a more flexible version of what NetSuite provides, because rather than doing this at a global level, you're able to do it at the individual asset levels. So yep, you're able to choose different depreciation methods, values. I'm a tax accountant in the US, so I know we have bonus depreciation. I'm not 100% sure about Australia. But yeah, there's different kind of nuances we can put in here to make sure that that schedule generates.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
Your little photo as well.
I know, right? Some people like to put little photos of their assets, and like the auditor will appreciate that someday.
I think it's a great idea. As someone who's done a fixed asset audit, it's a great idea because you run around looking, going, what does it look like? What does it look like?
Yes, and like I have an arbitrary number and an arbitrary name, and I don't know anything else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Under that tab, it said there was under the net assets tab, it said rentals. Can you explain that?
Yes, so this is a peek into our newest product actually that we're releasing here pretty soon. It's been released in the US. We're still making sure everything will work correctly, but basically we've got different rental options here. And so this is really cool because with traditional NetSuite like bills and sales orders, you're going to have a pretty strict billing functionality. And so what we're building here is that ability to do cycle billing. So basically coming in here and saying, let me grab an example one. Basically being able to go in and say, hey, I want this to be based like time-based. I want you to bill every single week. And I want you to calculate that based off of my best price or based off of days. And the number of days that an asset is out, I want you to charge the client for that number of days. So this really gets into the revenue side of things. Our loan product as well as kind of getting to the revenue side. It's something that we're dipping our toes into here. But you can add additional assets here. You tag those assets. They can have different statuses, different start and end dates by line here. And then that also drives the dollar amount that we're billing the client for.
So if I have a surplus of vehicles, I can rent them out and I can use this facility to monitor the renting, track the renting, and is it invoicing as well, or is it monitoring? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, yes. So we've got like a calendar in here. This gets more into that management side, like what assets are being out or sent out, when are they going out, when are they coming back? And then based off of that calendar and the timing of your assets, that's what then drives this line level and ultimately drives the price that we're then billing for.
Oh,
so
that's quite exciting.
Yes, we've had a lot of interest in this because it is a super powerful tool, especially for like those serialized asset type of rentals where you have big trucks, machines, like individual pieces. You want to make sure you know where they are.
Yeah, I think especially during the pandemic, people were like, how can I make extra money? What are the side hustles that I can sort of strap on into my business? And this is one that a lot of people thought, okay, this is something I can do. So yeah, it's a good option to have.
Yeah, it's actually fascinating talking with clients because they're like, well, my main business is this, but my side business has grown to such an extent that I now need a better way to track it.
Yeah, absolutely. And just that explosion of brainstorming.
Yeah, definitely. Perfect. Okay. Well, I guess the other thing that I just want to touch on here, just because this is something that is different if you're familiar with the NetSuite fixed asset module, it also just shows you what kind of the UI experience that we focus on looks like. So we have a lot of reporting out of the box. You can see here, I've got over 70 on my little ticker here on the side. But when I open these up, it is going to be a report that I can interact with. So we really want to make sure that these reports are easy to understand, they're easy to export, so that way you can send them off to an auditor. You can change how these things are grouped, but at the end of the day, right, this is a roll forward report. This is something that if you have fixed assets, you essentially have to create at least once a year, if not every single month. And so this is something that we just provide out of the box, right? It makes it really easy to come in here. All of the information driving this report is already in the system, right? Another benefit of that like ERP connectivity, right? I post my journal entries here and I drive my reporting from here. You can then go in easily see like all of your individual assets. You can change by the filters here at the bottom and then export that, like I said. So this is just an example of a report. We've got, like I said, over 70. So pretty much anything you can think of. And we have lots of clients in Australia. So we should cover those needs as well.
So I presume it exports into Microsoft Excel. Does it export into Google Sheets?
Oh, a good question. It's currently just Excel, just because we do use the native NetSuite export functionality there.
That's fine. People, if they want, they can always import it into Google Sheets, but I just wanted to ask.
Yes, I've had to do a copy and paste before. So it's much easier than an entire creation.
Yes, absolutely. It looks very neat and tidy.
Thank you. Yes. That does lead me to a little bit of a tangent though, just because you mentioned the Google Sheets, and I want to show this because I think it's really cool. One of the SuperSync products that we have purchased and we now sell is our file sync. And so what this does is this can connect to your Google. Obviously, this isn't like reporting. This is more for, I have a rental contract that's in a PDF format, or I have like a purchase order for an asset and I want to like put that physical copy in here, right? You're attaching documents to different things inside of NetSuite.
Yes.
And this can work throughout any transaction type inside of NetSuite. So we're talking all of your normal transactions, as well as any of our records associated with our products. You can basically set it up so it automatically creates this folder for you inside of your Google or your SharePoint. So it becomes really powerful there because now you have an easy way to find that location, as well as it's going to be really clean because everything's going to be created. You're not like grouping stuff together haphazardly.
So you can put insurance documents there, you could put maintenance records there, and be able to very quickly pick out that you maintain the vehicle every 6 months or something like that there. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, that's a great use case for it. And it's just a drag and drop functionality. You can then see them here. If I pull up my files, you'll see everything I've done recently. So I'll leave this one blank, but it's a easy drag and drop.
Yeah, I think some people don't value the ability to find files quickly, and it can be hours trying to find files sometimes, and in the olden days, but even now it can take you forever to find files if you've not stored them correctly, if you've not tagged them correctly. So this is just massive and takes you a few seconds to do. Yeah,
that is one of the key benefits here. Plus it means that like now I don't have to go into my SharePoint and navigate down the whole entire tree, right? I can go to my asset record in NetSuite and access my files directly from here.
Absolutely.
So another huge benefit. All right. So I've spent a lot of time on NetAsset. We have a whole host of products. So I want to give love to some of the other ones quickly. Our leasing product. So if any of your clients have IFRS 16 leases, I'll just kind of talk to this one quickly. Actually, maybe I'll just show a lease. Doesn't hurt. But the idea here is that we create your amortization schedule for you. So even clients that have 1 or 2 leases, this can be time consuming, especially as you may have modifications. You may have a free couple months of rent, right? Everybody during COVID, the first couple months, I feel like everyone was given 3 months of free rent, and now you're having to account for that correctly. And so some of those kind of situations can really cause havoc on your Excel sheets. And so you can basically just rest easy knowing that you put in kind of your start and end date again, you put how long it is, any payments, any discount rates, and then we generate that amortization schedule for you. We're doing what's called the net present value calculation. And so that may be familiar if you've worked with leases before, but it's basically like a calculation you have to do in order to find these two numbers that then have to go on your books. We're then going to, again, post those journal entries directly here inside of NetSuite. So it all just becomes, it comes embedded. It's really easy to use, and any modifications are also really easy. And we save records of that here in the system.
And I presume anyone who's touching the system, like we can see that you're logged in at the moment, anyone who's touching it, that's tracked.
Yeah, so that's one of the cool things about NetSuite in general is they have what they call the system notes. And so anytime anybody here is changing something, it tracks exactly who, when, and what they were changing, and the old and the new value.
Especially when someone realizes they can put in free rent and they go and do it for their, oh, I might just do that for my brother-in-law for the rest of eternity, which has happened. Not through this, obviously, but yeah.
Yes. Definitely helps with the drilling into a problem area situation. Perfect. Okay, well, I don't want to spend a ton of time there. I bet that is in here. If you're spending a lot of time in Excel, take a look at that. And our NetLease product as well, that's the one that has that kind of mirror product that is also embedded in QuickBooks. We'll touch on that in a different session, but that's the one that has kind of that buddy product going on as well.
Okay, yes.
Okay, NetLoan, I promised we would look at this one. So I'm going to actually just open up a loan I've already have here. So this is our loan record. It'll look similar. That's the other nice thing about using the NetSuite UI here is that all of our products kind of across the board are going to have similar UI. And so again, going back to that, I like this product. You have this one. The UI is really similar. And so it's much easier to pick up subsequent products as well. And also just if you're familiar with NetSuite, it feels very familiar.
Yeah, and again, that's so important for existing staff and new staff coming on, that they can just hit the ground running with it, rather than having to go off on a week training course to work out how to use it.
Yes, exactly. No, we want quick implementations. We want easy implementations. I mean, I've had clients that have said, you are the easiest one to work with. If I could just implement your product solely, I would. So, yes. Anyhow, don't tell anyone else I said that. So we've got different lists here, right? The borrower, the subsidiary. The cool thing about our loan product, oh, and I picked one. That's all right. This example worked great. So we've got an amortization schedule here. Again, we are calculating this for you. I'm going to say that a million times, but this is where the value comes from our product specifically, in trying to modernize accounting. It's just basically taking your inputs and then generating that back-end Excel work for you. This one's pretty straightforward. I basically have one interest rate and I have one payment amount. The payment's happening in the middle of the month though. And so you can see here, that's why my schedule is basically calculating accrued interest, and then debooking that in the following month when I actually post my journal. So loan is really cool and super powerful because I'm able to do everything by specific days here. And so it really means that you can come in here and say like, hey, on the 12th, I had a different payment. It switched it up. And that's going to be then calculated on that specific day. There's a lot of what I like to call levers that you can pull. So, I mean, I have gotten most schedules I've played with down to the cent as far as a match to like bank statements and Excels. So at the end of the day, like everything you're looking at on Excel and from a bank statement is just math. And so basically putting it into the system here, we can get this exact. And then what that means is you're able to then go and run your journals. You're going to be able to actually do the billing from here as well, and have all of those repetitive entries that you have to make automated because the schedules match.
Fantastic. As someone who likes detail, fantastic. Down to the cent rather than trying to pass.
I know. It is the most satisfying feeling.
And when you're talking to support and they don't think that's important, you're like, I think it is important. Why is it not working? Because you always think if it doesn't work, then is it really working? So that's
exactly. Well, and I'm not an auditor. I'm a tax accountant. I care about the pennies versus like auditors where it's like, it's immaterial. So it's fun. But yeah, I always get questions about like, can I change the payments? Can I change rates? And yes, absolutely. We've got lots of, different ways to enter those, and lots of flexibility in that as well. So it's actually cool. You just like put in your new payments. NetSuite has the ability to do CSV imports. So you can actually import all of your payment changes and then it'll just auto process those overnight.
Fantastic. So you can sit in Suite Excel and then just update it into your solution.
Exactly. Yep. That's also how we do implementation. So that's why it's really fast to implement as well, as we can just upload all your loans at once.
Fantastic.
Same with all our products.
So new clients don't have to break up with Excel. They can still have a relationship.
Not completely if they don't want
relationship.
Yes. That's why we have SuperSync files. You can upload those Excels if you need to.
Fantastic. You just don't want to tell accountants they have to break up with their spreadsheets.
It's so true. And actually that's a pretty good lead into NetClose, I guess. Yeah, loans is cool because it's just so robust. I mean, I could spend an hour just covering all the different functionality we have here. We're working on like origination right now. We have a collections piece for NetLoan. So again, getting into that receivable side where I'm actually making my money off of like giving loans. There's a lot of different nuance that goes into that, a lot of different features that are required. And so we're building that out just kind of so we have a start to finish product here inside of NetSuite. So that's also
along that top line, what does the word actions do?
So that's a native NetSuite option. It just allows you to like make a new record or make a copy of the current record you're on. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the loan I picked doesn't have all my buttons. That's what I was saying. I was like, oh, this one's not my favorite. If I were to switch to a different loan, let me pick one that's got journal entries running already. Let's look at a payable, for example. So this one's got the bill and the modify option here. So running journals, that's going to be these journal entries here that you see tagged to the side. If I were to pop one of these open, all of our journal entries are very similar across the board. But again, the idea here is that we've got the different line items, the GL accounts that you're hitting are based off of the types. That's true across the board. So you set up different loan types, different asset types, different lease types, and then you can hit different GL accounts, but process all of your journals at once. So I just clicked on the button, right? But you're going to see this process monthly transactions drop down on all of our products. And this is going to be where you come in and you can run all of your loan journals. You can run all of your bills. You can do all of your approvals. So it just gives you that ability to do everything all at once here.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And then my favorite piece, right? Everything's tagged here at the line level. It's so pretty. Okay. So, and then I guess modify, that's just the ability to change things like the length of a loan, right? With loans, there's a nuance there of like a payment change usually isn't a modification, it's just an update, but like changing the length of something is modify. But within our asset and lease products, we also have that ability to modify, change the asset value, change the length that's depreciating, depreciation or like method that you're using. There's a lot of flexibility with the modifications. Okay, let's hop into NetClose, I think, just because we were chatting about Excel, and I feel like the bread and butter of Excel at month end is for reconciliations. Really going in and having to look at your GL balances and then looking at what we call the source of truth and making sure that those two things are actually tying, right? If I have a list of bills that I received, those are the actual bills that were reported inside of NetSuite at the end of the day. So what we've tried to do here is automate that as much as we can. And so you can see here, I've got a couple different statuses. I've got this auto reconciled. That's like the golden child, what we want for everything. But we also have completed, submitted for review. So basically giving you the ability to track where you're at during your close process. And then the auto reconciled itself, there's a couple different ways to trigger this. So one of my favorites is actually just looking at all of your individual accounts and then looking at your different GL accounts or your subsidiaries and saying, hey, did anything change? Because if nothing changed month over month, then I don't even need to look at that. And so we have a lot of clients where they spend 5 hours every single close period or even longer just going through and clearing out all of those $0 balances just to verify that they are in fact zero. And so this makes it really easy to just click through your GL accounts and check it for you and give you a nice little green banner.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's nice. The other way that we get this auto reconciled status is a little bit more complicated, but it's very powerful when used correctly, which is basically this idea of a saved search inside of NetSuite. And we use that save search to create your subledger. So when we're reconciling, we're looking at your GL versus your subledger. And so what I've done is I can create a list that is in essence my subledger and say, hey, does the dollar value there match the dollar value in my GL? And if it does, then we're going to get this auto reconciled status. Basically, my explain balance coming from a save search, which is my subledger, matches the GL itself. And so that can be very powerful. We use that for any of our products. If clients, again, are kind of bundling NetAsset and NetLease, I have actual asset records that I can say, hey, it should be this depreciation dollar amount. Go and verify that that's actually what's in my depreciation account or my asset balance account. Within NetClose itself, we have this ability to do amortizations and accruals, which are often like your prepaids. So those are also often kind of record-based, and you can then look at it and say, look at my list of amortizations, my prepaids, and verify that that also is matching my GL balance. So just kind of gives you that ability to create subledgers and use them to decrease the amount of time that you're looking at numbers inside of NetSuite. So that I feel like is the most complicated piece of NetClose. So if you followed that, we're doing great.
Can you pop back into NetClose and explain to me, and it's maybe no. Oh yeah. In the
drop down itself.
What and this may be lost in translation on me. What's a flux analysis?
Yeah, so flux analysis is something that I would feel like the private companies don't do it as often. It's more used for like forecasting purposes, but it's the idea of taking last month's number, this month's number, and saying, is there a dollar change and what percentage is that dollar change? So it's basically to look at trends. And then a lot of the times, like companies they call it, I'm like doing a flux analysis, which is basically like do an analysis of the change in dollar balance here. And then I want to also be able to put a comment or an explanation associated with that change. And so what we've done is we allow you to go in and choose like what your comparison or prior period is compared to a current period. We then look at the dollar amounts and the percentages, run the numbers and the math for you. And then you can also put thresholds in here to then trigger if something needs to be explained or talked about or not.
Wow.
And then we also have the ability to just type directly in here to then give an explanation in the system. So it's kind of like an Excel, but you don't have to like, one of the like more irritating things about a flux analysis is if anything changes, then you're re-exporting from Excel, you're re-putting it in, or you're exporting it from NetSuite, putting it in Excel. You have to make sure everything's lined up correctly. All of that is not a problem in here because they all have their own lines and we're doing it for you.
Yeah. It's interesting because I know that whole the way you describe the analysis, I'm completely au fait with that. I've never heard the word flux used there, so that might be
it could be an American term.
Yeah. I've heard the word flux, and I think it was from a Michael J. Fox movie.
Oh.
but yeah, so it might be. And it may be happening in upper echelons that I'm not aware of. So that's very interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course. Flux is basically just change, right? So it's a change analysis. But yeah, no, I'm glad you asked. That's actually one of our newer features inside of NetClose. And so it's been fun to see clients like embrace that and be excited about as we continue to release new features inside of NetClose. It just kind of gets grandfathered in most of the time. And so then they get to go and play with it. So it's fun.
And such an important feature to then have a further conversation about. The analysis piece, like why is it moving unexpectedly or expectedly?
Exactly. And that's why it's a standard piece of like the closed product for a lot of clients is because they want that explanation. So yes, that can be very important. Just a couple other things to touch on here. We do have a task board in here. This is nice because we actually have the ability to do a Kanban board. This can be a little overwhelming if you're looking at it all at once, right? There's like a lot going on here, but a lot of people like to filter this down to just their personal tasks. And so then it's a really easy way to see like, oh, what do I have and which statuses, what I need to work on? And then this is actually a drag and drop functionality here. So it makes it pretty easy to utilize as well, just because I feel like one of the biggest things with the close is trying to know where everybody is at in the close. And it's so hard to remember that you need to go in and update things. And so making that UI as easy as possible is one of the ways that we're trying to accomplish that.
Yeah, it looks like a very neat Kanban board, and I always like the Kanban board. So yeah, the way that you've displayed it there, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, thanks. These also kind of they create pop-up windows here as well. Where you're able to have due dates. You can put comments here, see steps. Steps are nice for like auditors. I feel like just kind of depends on your preference if you want to use them or not. But again, just that ability to see additional information. And then you can also always drill into the record itself. So the cool thing about our product, I mean, as I get into NetClose, it gets into a little bit more advanced and new UI that NetSuite is actually releasing themselves. But at the end of the day, when I drill into these, there's always a record on the back end that you can also go and look at and customize. So that's another really nice benefit just of NetSuite as well as all of our products.
Yeah. Oh, so powerful. There's so much that can be done with this solution.
Oh yeah, that's why we started on NetSuite, because we have a lot of actually people who worked at NetSuite for a long time that are part of our top management. And on top of that, our developers were at NetSuite before. And so just a lot of just native NetSuite like knowledge as a part of our company. And so we've then designed it to really take advantage of all of the power inside of NetSuite.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Okay, the last piece I want to touch on here is bank, just because this is our actual newest fully released product. I know I've said like we've got new stuff all the time. It's because we're always releasing stuff. It's not fun if you don't have new stuff. But this one is like a full-blown product that has gotten a lot of really positive feedback. So basically taking your cash reconciliation that a lot of clients are doing daily, if not weekly, and it's bringing in the actual balances from your bank. It's comparing that to your GL balances. Of course, I'm very out of reconciled, but in an ideal world, these are zero. And you have, what is that, $474 million in the bank. But we've got the ability to do auto matching. Auto matching can be driven off of days, dollar amounts. You can choose based off of like different bank transaction types if you have different rules. So that's another just kind of nice nuance there. We have this ability, I'm actually going to minimize this because I'm on a little bit of a smaller screen, but you've got your bank activity versus your transactions. Anyone familiar with the native NetSuite cash management tool will recognize some of the UI differences that we've made here. So the ability to match here at the top, or the ability to select all, those are kind of like minor things that are just UI based. But some of the other really big things is that we actually create records here. And so I mentioned this idea of a save search. It's basically taking any record inside of NetSuite and saying, hey, I want you to show me these records based off of these rules and this criteria, and put these filters on it, right? And so you're able to then actually create those searches using the bank feed here inside of NetSuite, which makes it really easy if you ever have to drill in and compare something. It's not a black box. You have like an actual list here that you can then drill into it and look at when it comes to the bank feed. So kind of a nuanced piece over there, but I wanted to touch on it just because it really matters to people who it really matters for.
Yeah.
And then obviously the ability to manually match here, but in our ideal world, you're going to be able to auto match or have suggested auto match rules for pretty much any transaction. So we have this ability to either have a rule automatically run, or you can also say, hey, I need to go and manually review those ones. But at least tell me what you think matches. And so that's what I'm doing here is I'm basically saying, hey, go look at this rule. And then I can look at this and say if I want it to be matched or not. So also just kind of using the system to take some of the logic away from what you have to do. The other cool thing here is the summary. So if I choose a date here, this is nice because It basically is what an auditor would ask for. And so if you're doing a reconciliation of cash, you're probably going to be familiar with this idea of I have a bank balance and I have a GL balance here. And at the end of the day, I want these to be zero. Mine are not zero. So I'm terribly sorry. I have not actually done that yet, but it would be zero here across the board. And then it would be reconciled and be beautiful. And you're able to just, again, export this and send this off to an auditor and say, hey, here's my bank, here's my GL, and here's anything that's causing a difference.
Absolutely. And Australians wouldn't have to probably deal with the outstanding check line. So,
hopefully not.
my bank sent me an email yesterday saying, and they're a high street bank, saying we're no longer giving you checks. That's it. It's finished.
Oh, I didn't realize you were fully phasing out checks. That's impressive.
Well, that's that bank. So
that specific bank, but it's moving that direction.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I haven't touched a check in a decade. Actually, I touched one maybe 3 years ago once.
I was gonna say, I touched one 1.5 years ago when I got a car, but it's been a while.
Weird, isn't it? Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, that covers probably most. I mean, obviously there's, again, I spend an hour demoing each of these products anytime I like really demo them for people. So I'm not going to go into nearly as much detail as I could, but just high level, other things we didn't cover were accruals and amortizations. And then there is also reporting in here as well. So lots of different options. I mean, we didn't even really touch on the LessOr side, but oh, sorry, go ahead, Heather.
No, you go, you keep going.
I was going to say, we didn't really touch on the LessOr side. That's just the mirror image of NetLease. This is if you make money by leasing out vehicles or equipment, something that is serialized. And so basically I own an asset and I'm leasing it out, but it's different from a rental. And the nuance there is usually just length of time. Anything under 12 months as a rent is usually a rental. Anything over 12 months is usually a lease. Okay. But that's kind of within the same realm. So that's why I didn't cover it. It's very similar to the other products we have.
So when someone sets it up incorrectly in one of them, can they easily move it across?
Oh, we don't have like a move button necessarily, but
sorry,
it is pretty easy to set them up individually. So I feel like you could put them up side by side and it wouldn't be bad.
No, I imagine you don't know what how life is going to run, do you? And you think it's going to be one thing, it ends up being another thing, doesn't it? So yeah, yes. Absolutely.
Well, and to be fair, if it's a lease, you have to know it's above 12 months in advance. Otherwise, you can just put everything in rentals. So
yes. Oh, okay, fair enough. Yes. Okay, fair enough. Now, is there anything else the accounting and bookkeeping community should know? What should they do to prepare to move to a solution like this? How do they go about sort of contacting you? And do they get sort of a consultant on board to help them with this move?
Yeah, those are excellent questions. So obviously what I've covered today are apps that sit inside of NetSuite. So you do need to have a NetSuite instance in order to implement our apps. That being said, we can implement concurrently with NetSuite. So a lot of clients will purchase NetSuite and our products at the same time. And then you can implement them all at the same time. So if you have NetSuite already, reach out, see if any of these are a good fit for you. If you don't have NetSuite, but you are looking for a more robust ERP, then I would say NetSuite is kind of like that next step up from like a QuickBooks type of situation. And so it provides a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of really powerful functionality. There's also different levels with NetSuite. So there's like financials first, which is really just going to be a focus on your GL. And then there's getting into all of the different like CRM type of management systems in here as well. So NetSuite itself also has a lot of modules, but I would say if you are interested, you are welcome to reach out to us and we can put you in touch with a NetSuite consultant and they can sell you NetSuite, and we have partners that we work with really closely and do the implementations all at the same time. And if you have NetSuite, then just reach out and we can work with you directly that way.
So if they have NetSuite and they're looking to do the implementation of your solution, how much time should they budget for?
Yeah, so like I said, we try to make our implementations as easy as possible. So most of them are in that 4 to 6 week range of implementation. If you have more than one product you're implementing at the same time, that usually gets bumped up to 8 weeks just because there is like sometimes scheduling and having additional information put in. But again, I would say anything longer than 8 weeks is going to be because you have like a very complex situation, or there's like a nuance that we're like building out for you. But that tends to be our pretty standard average.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Becca, for sharing all of that with us today. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience, or and you've told us how to get in contact with you, and I'm going to, oh,
I'm sorry. I was going to say, I was just going to click over. Yeah, there we go. We've got a more questions slide here. But yeah, go ahead.
So if people want to get in contact with you, there is a slide there, but I'm also going to add an additional slide onto the end of this if people want to get in contact with anyone regarding Netgain. So thank you so much for sharing your time with us today, Becca.
Yes, perfect. Thanks, Heather. Appreciate it.